All right. I heard those guys from the last show mention James Buster Douglas. They had to go get one, boy, because I ain't heard that dude. Since back in the day when he was the man that nobody gave a chance. You want to talk about having a snowball chance in hell? That was the snowball chance in hell. So those guys lighten up my day with the reference to James Buster Douglas.
He was prevalent for about what, a minute?
I think he lasted at least 6 months.
Maybe 6 months.
You know, he was on top of stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course it does what time normally does, take back stuff to which it came.
Well, you just couldn't put lightning in a bottle yet.
But again, he had his 15 minutes of fame.
He did.
I mean, and that's one hell of a damn 15 minutes of fame to have, to be the international boxing heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, folks, welcome to Porch Talk Radio. This is me and Willie, Eddie Adams, Jr. and Willie Lawson, going to entertain you here for about an hour and kind of do our thing. For those who want to call in, for those who want to participate, the calling number here at WTMP radio station is 813-251-9867, 253 813-251-9867. So, and again, as I always say, and what you always ignore, you know, we're going to be doing a radio show for the next hour. So don't call us during the radio show.
Except if you want to talk on the show.
Yeah. Yes.
But you can call Eddie's cell phone right now if you like.
Yes. Come on for to give you the number. Okay, the number, my cell phone number. You want to call, text, do whatever, you know, give me a call, 813-230-3312. See, we're having so much fun here this Saturday morning. And again, Eddie Adams, cell phone number, 813-230-3312.
Go.
The website, porchtalkradio.com. That's simple. And if you want to email me at Eddie, E-D-D-I-E, at porchtalkradio.com. Sponsors. We're going to get right through this. So that means we're going to have a lot of air time to cut through here in a little bit. The sponsors. And somebody called me the other day asking me for Todd Jones' phone number. And I actually didn't have it readily handy, else I would have gave it to him. And I don't even remember who that was anymore. But anyway, okay. But it's in the phone book. So, and Todd Jones.
Phone book?
RealAdvice.com.
I'm sorry. Google, some of those electronic services out there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am sorry. I did date myself.
Wow.
I went right on back there with the boxer.
He's in the yellow pages.
You know, yeah, he's in the yellow pages.
RealAdvice.com.
Yeah, RealAdvice.com. All right. Also, Hillsborough County Republican Executive Committee. Somebody told me they had an election a couple of weeks ago, and the Democrats woke up and said, "Okay, let's go win this thing. Let's go beat some butt." And I think the Republicans pretty much thinking, you know, that was the bell to go take a nap, because I ain't heard a lot of nothing out of nobody. So anyway, you know, that's why we here. We here to agitate and stir up stuff. All right. Also, Print Fast. John Desbrow, my good friend, he's been gone for a week. But any printing needs you have, you need to print the side of a building, yard signs, or whatever you need, John take care of it for you. And he got about 200 cars over there on the lot, so whatever your printing needs, and if you need a vehicle, he can also take care of that. 813-621-9444. 813-621-9444. All right. if I got an extra 4 in there, then
You can dial it. It won't matter.
Yeah. It won't matter after you get past the
4.
correct number. The rest of it just goes off into Neverland or something. All right. Today, we're gonna talk about CRA.
CRA.
I went to a CRA meeting the other day.
Oh, well, welcome. Welcome to the world of CRA.
East Tampa CRA.
So you went to the East Tampa Revitalization Partnership meeting.
Yes, I went to
I've been there.
Reagan Park.
I've been to those meetings.
I was told it was gonna start at 6. I think they started 7 plus.
The evening meetings are, I mean, they actually, and they've done this for a long time, and Van Best is sort of instituted this, where they have actually 2 meetings. They'll have a morning meeting, and the morning meeting are for the people who are the retirees and the seniors, and then the evening meetings are normally for people who work and a little younger crowd. My wife and I call it the evening meetings are the club meetings, because they're for the younger crowd.
Like the Bridge Club?
Yeah, we're at the club, because of the people who work and stuff. So sometimes, because they're waiting for people to get there, things do sort of drag on a little bit and start late. And that's why. Yeah, starting late is usually a problem, because now my bedtime is always quickly approaching.
And something, even though I think I left 9 or shortly thereabout 9, and someone said, I heard somebody mention in a perturbed voice that they was there to 10, 11. So I thought, oh no, I'm so glad I left now.
Yeah. That's too late.
Yeah, they had stuff to work out. So anyway, now let me tell you what I learned. Not so much at this meeting, but this is what I learned over the last couple of weeks about CRA. The community. It's Community Reinvestment
Agencies
Act. That's what started this whole thing. And it started out, in Alaska, and it was Alaska and Colorado. It's one of those 2 states where they was trying to get stuff back to their people. And I know Alaska's give money to their people every year, because they give $2,500 to everybody. All you gotta do is be a citizen.
Oil money, though.
Yeah. It is oil money,
That's oil money.
But kind of the concept was, how do we get money from the government back to the regular people without having it be some kind of, let's say,
Social giveaway?
well, yeah, some kind of corrupt flow where your people over here off on this island can get as much money as they want, but the people right across the river can get none of the money. So I'm just saying, it starts out that way, and I tell folks, all the folk tales you have ever heard at somewhere in its history has had a basis of truth. All of them, no matter how weird or how funny or how loud or how wrong or how nasty they are, all those folk tales that's lasted all these years had some basis whatsoever in truth. So I found out, and this is public knowledge, so I'm not telling you nothing that's a big secret. And if Joe Robinson is listening, I know Joe is over the West Tampa CRA. So there's a West Tampa CRA, and I do not know how much money the West Tampa CRA is going to get this year. The East Tampa CRA is going to get $2.9 million. And I asked them, what's the restrictions on that $2.9 million, since technically the money came from the area.
And a lot of the money is from the community investment tax.
Right.
A lot of that money is TIF funds that come from the community investment tax. So, and it gets spent at almost at the discretion of the board.
Yes. 13 members.
Yeah, I was on that board for a bit.
Okay.
The community brings things to the board, and the board goes over them and sees the things that are feasible, things that can be done with the help of the city.
Right.
To make sure that it stays on the plan that the CRA that fits the plan that the CRA has already. So there are restrictions in that sense. They don't go off kilter and they say, "Oh, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna build a hot tub in my backyard." That doesn't. So that can't. There are safe.
Oh, you can't do.
No,
because I
there
was
are
told
safeguards.
the only restrictions were that it had to be built in the CRA.
Well, but there are other restrictions because the board has to approve them to bring them to membership.
Okay.
And again, the city sits on the board as well. So there are restrictions, and they have to fit the plan. Actually, the CRA and how they spend money is how Congress ought to spend money, because you can't have a program or an idea if it doesn't fit the plan. And you have to, when you're presenting it and defending it, you have to have it be part of your 5-year or your 10-year. And if it isn't, there's not much chance that it's going to be approved by the board. And then again, even if it's brought to membership. So I think there's a number of safeguards. And I'm actually a fan of CRAs. I'm a fan of the East Tampa Revitalization Partnership and the people who work so hard in our organization to do something about East Tampa. I know that doesn't seem like the most Republican-y thing to be a part of.
No, it's not.
But you know what?
They got some power. They got some power, and I'm thinking they got the two most important things in this day and age:
power and money.
Power and money.
I mean, and during the financial crisis, they didn't have any money. I mean, because again, those taxes go down, and they're just getting back, frankly, to a level where they can actually do some stuff. So I'm sure those board meetings are fast and furious, trying to get back on track. So, and good people, business owners, community people, just folks, citizens who live in East Tampa are on this board. So some of them are business owners, but not necessarily something that they're going to be funneling money to their business, because if you are on those boards, part of the ethics training that you get is that you can't do that.
You should not do that.
Well, you can't. No, it says you can't. I've been to the training. You can't.
Okay, I'm just but we talking about the reality of the situation, and we talking about what people should and should not do has always been up for debate, especially when politics is
unfortunately,
involved.
yes, you're right. But the ethics training says that these things are forbidden that you may not do. So I like it because there's a number of safeguards to prevent the very same sort of ne'er-do-well things that happen in these community organizations that you're talking about. But I think that for a long time, I think that the East Tampa Revitalization Partnership has sort of been the template for some of the others. So I think that they've done a fabulous job, and their membership has done a fabulous job. So I was happy to be a part.
So the one I want to learn more about now is West Tampa, because I heard they got twice the money.
Joe, call
that East Tampa.
Joe, I know you listen.
That East Tampa got, and part of rattling around in the back of my mind, even though I know it's not much up there, is the fact that if
that's why I think it's gonna rattle.
Yeah, if
East Tampa, up here, I'm like, whoa.
If East Tampa got $2.9 million, and again I heard somewhere West Tampa got $5 million or $6 million, something like that. Whatever that number is, it is a real number, and somebody within an hour will call us and say what that number is, and you start looking at how you improve a community, because some of the stuff that they was talking about was how do you get a grocery store,
yes,
in East Tampa, and they've been trying, and folks have been doing stuff behind the scenes and this and this and this, but at the end of the day, they still don't have a credible, plan to get a supermarket, grocery store.
Well, they've got Walmart on North Avenue.
What they got Walmart, but they don't. Somehow
they have a grocery store in Walmart.
They don't.
I know that. I know that you're too highfalutin to
Publix
be shopping
Kmart and that kind of stuff.
Well, by the way, Kmart is out of business. Let's not get them.
Oh,
they're done. They are like the Christmas goose. Done.
Okay.
They closed They closed the Brandon store a little bit ago. They are done. No Kmart's in East Tampa. Thank God. And there is a Publix on Nebraska Avenue.
Okay, now is there still a Kmart on Bush?
Nope. No.
You sure?
Yes.
It's gone? Oh, okay, I guess. All right, you guys saying it's not
Actually,
no Kmart.
I actually
on
drive
Bush
around
no
my community and look around and see what's going on.
Okay, yeah, okay. So
I live here.
Let's get back to where I was trying to go here about how do we make our communities better ourselves, since we have money that actually shows up in the community with that purpose stuck on a pile of money. You know how they do on TV. They have the guy walk into the place with the briefcase full of $100 bills. You know,
And they're sticking out the side of the
and they
briefcase.
stick it all out and all unshuffled and stuff, and say this is for community development. And I visualize that. And I'm saying, okay, well, if I had anything to do with it, you know, being an architect and all, I say we could save some. We may not be able to save all of them, but we could take at least, you know, a couple of these blocks that got all these vacant lots, and the ones with the raggedy ass houses on them, literally waiting for somebody to come push them over, and they will fall down by themselves, but yet they're still hanging, you know, and we got money. Why don't we take like a target, just do something simple and just target 5 lots in the whole community this year and say, okay, those lots, we're gonna go infill houses on those lots. We're gonna make those in mature. In other neighborhoods, those are called mature neighborhoods because the lots don't have any, the blocks don't have so many vacant lots on them. They actually got houses and trees and families in those areas. And if you build them, they would come. And if you got some money like that, why wouldn't we?
And I think,
I'm thinking out loud, people.
I think what you're saying is actually, and if Ernest, if you're listening, you can call on this because Ernest is in charge of CDC. These partnerships that they've had before when they had more money. Well, these things that you're talking about, they've actually already done, not on as large a scale as we need, especially down some of the major thoroughfares. But if you go down 22nd Street, all that development in the middle of the street, that's East Tampa CRA.
With the roundabout.
All that stuff.
Okay.
All that stuff is East Tampa CRA. So yeah, they've already done a lot of that. And it was easier when you had money, but then when, you know, in 2007, 2008, when anybody had no money and the tax revenues were down, their revenues were down also. So.
But they did build that police station with CRA.
They actually partnered and got that the substations. I think it's 3.
Oh, okay.
There. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's also
there's some artwork out there.
Employee that's a detective with the Tampa Police Department that's making $94,000, $95,000.
I don't know how much they're making, but we also have an environmental officer.
That's the guy.
Who has been awesome because what they do is they travel the area and they're connected with all of the all the community leaders to find illegal dumping and that kind of stuff, which makes the area unsafe and dirty and not good for people who want to come in and develop. So yes, the environmental officer is an essential part of the East Tampa CRA because of that very reason. Yes, the environmental officer has been great and a really good idea.
Now,
like I said, I don't sound really Republican today, but I live there.
Let me get Negro-ish about this process here. Okay. Before the white guy got the job making $94,000, there was a black guy in the job.
I think he retired.
Oh, he retired.
Yeah.
So they couldn't find nobody
that's up to TBD, I guess. He retired.
Oh, see again.
He retired, and when he was off duty, he used to do off duty work at the Walmart, which was awesome because he knew everybody.
He was still there.
He knew everybody. And he was still in the community. He was awesome.
Okay,
he
was awesome. See again. Left to our druthers, sometimes with misinformation. See, that's why I'm having this conversation on the radio this morning.
I'm so glad you're having it with me.
well, again, community, we're trying to do some things. Okay, we got a caller. Maybe this is one of the guys I've asked. Maybe this is one of the guys we've asked to call us, so we can get some more information. Because next week we may have Frank Reddick here to talk about it, because they got to go to the city of Tampa with their budget for the CRA for next year. So at some time between this month and next month, it's got to get approved and go through that whole process. So caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio this morning. This is Eddie sitting here. We're trying to talk about the CRA and how our community actually do have money. We're not the poor sisters of Frecklehead, sisters of the stepchilds of some begotten being that kind of just threw us away. Welcome. What say you this morning?
Yeah, hey, this is Gary Pruitt, Democratic candidate for Hillsborough County Sheriff. I wanted to say that I used to be the environmental crimes detective over there in District 3, and I just wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. That's what we're looking for, information.
Well, when I did it, what I found, to be honest with you, the reason I'm running for Hillsborough County Sheriff is because that's when I learned to fall in love with the community. It wasn't considered East Tampa the poor black community. It was actually a community that actually loved their environment and they wanted to make it better. So when I was able to work with the community leaders and work with the illegal dumping and such, it really brought a whole light to that area that I think that a lot of people don't see, especially with the police department.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of want to bring back to the sheriff's department in a different light, meaning more interaction with the deputies and the community, so they can actually say, you know what, they do need this or that, some different help. That way, everybody doesn't hate everybody, and that's really kind of what happened. And I think the CRA kind of brought that back to light to me.
Yeah, and you remember the environmental officer sits in on CRA meetings. They sit in on the CRA board meetings. So they have an ear to what people are saying, and that's why that position was so very, very important. That's why I'm saying was so very important, especially with my time on the board and my time on the partnership, to have that person there. And it seemed like why do you need an environmental officer? Because unfortunately in those communities, people drop off couches and crap in all sorts of places where they shouldn't drop off stuff, and that stuff needs to be cleaned up. And that person also works with code enforcement. Oh, I'm sorry, they call it neighborhood empowerment now. But they also
work very closely with both of them. A Clean City at the time.
And Clean City program, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found me personally, as working closely with the actual people that did the job, I got more done. And it's sad to say, sometimes the heads want to fight with each other, but the worker bees want to get it done. So that's what we did, and that's what I'd like to bring back.
All right, now let me throw this out there. Again, this is somewhere I was going. Is okay if we again, a lot of folks don't know this, so that's why I'm throwing it out there. Is that okay? Say so of all the different communities, I know there's several different CRAs out there. So there's money being returned to these communities, and it ain't chump change. I'm talking about anytime you start dealing with millions of dollars. And everybody knows what happened to everybody knows what's happened to West Tampa, because the families, the demographics that was in West Tampa is changing, and it's changing. You know, sometime between now and 2020, the next presidential election cycle, it pretty much may not be the black district anymore.
Well, you know, if you go to the Porch Talk Radio Facebook page, I did a piece yesterday, a video that's on the page, out in front of what used to be North Boulevard Homes.
Okay.
And my question is simple: where did all those people go, and where are their votes?
Right. Yeah.
And I can't, and like I said in the video, I can't say that everybody who lived in North Boulevard home was a super voter. But I can't say that about any area of town.
Right. Yeah.
But there were definitely votes there, and those and all those most of those votes, I'm saying I don't know if everybody who lived in North Boulevard home was black, but I do know that a lot of people, probably 99% of the people who live in North Boulevard home were black. So where are those black votes?
And if we believe in, as black people, block voting,
That block got busted.
well, I'm just saying,
I passed
yeah.
by there
So
this morning. Nobody's living.
no, so we went from a heavily densified. I mean, densified, not so much, high rise and 4 and 5 story. Even though there was Bethune high rise, which had 9 to 10 stories.
A retirement community.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, but the fact that we had all those people on all those blocks, and now those blocks are pretty much, vacant lots, and until the next phase come through, which is gonna primarily be, and again, we're not politically correct,
It's gonna be young white people.
some middle-aged white folks.
Yeah, it's going to be a continuation of what we've seen around Armature Works, in that area on the other side of the river. That's what it's going to be, and there's going to be no place for the people who used to live there, because they won't be able to afford it economically. So I guess our caller hung up because his campaign commercial ended. What?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Well, again, that's why he called, to make sure everybody knew he was running for for sheriff. So he got that piece in, and I give him kudos for taking advantage of the opportunity.
I'm not running for sheriff, so don't vote for me because I'm not on the ballot.
Yeah.
But you know what? But you're right. So the voting demographic of that area is going to change. I said this in my piece, Eddie. All of this area, District 5 and District 3 County Commission, are pre-clearance districts, which means if any of the people want to change the lines about where those districts are, they have to get permission from the Department of Justice.
Right. In
So
Washington, D.C.
Yes. So what they did, instead of changing the lines, they just changed the people. The lines are exactly the same. They haven't moved any lines.
Right. Yeah.
They just moved people.
Yeah.
And they moved the people that they could. The people who were
Lock, stock, barrel, chickens, and all.
everything. The people who were dependent on public housing got moved. This is why, when I talk about gentrification, this is one of the dangers. Not just the heart-wrenching dangers of people who didn't have mortgages losing their home and being displaced, but you also end up with people with a change of voting demographics. Caller, thank you for calling Porch Talk Radio this morning. What can we do for you?
Yeah, hey, this is Gary Pruitt again. I actually got cut off. My campaign commercial didn't end. But what I did want to say about the CRA and the TIF and the environmental crimes, because that's whether or not I lose, it's very important, or win, it's very important that continues throughout both the police department and the sheriff's department, that we have a commitment to the community and a partnership with the community, and that's what I wanted to say.
That's true.
And part what I can't speak so much for the Tampa Police Department, but I am the ex president of the Sheriff Black Advisory Council. And that group, that organization, has been around for 32 years, and they have been involved in connecting the sheriff and somewhat being a liaison type organization between the sheriff and the community. So, and I'm just glad we haven't had a lot of stuff over the last 5-10 years where we had to do the same stuff we had to do 20, 30 years ago, when we was having riots and racial unrest. And I mean, we do have stuff now, but the nature of it isn't exactly the same. And the fact that the Sheriff Black Advisory Council has been around for as long as it had makes a statement too. And the fact that we have people who have been in the Sheriff Black Advisory Council since it started, that makes another statement too. So again,
absolutely.
We got some great stuff happening here within the community. And if you want to go, since you're on the phone, you want to give your information out, go ahead and give it, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm Gary Pruitt. My phone number, direct contact, is 813-601-4005. My website is votegarypruitt.com, and I have a Facebook page also at Pruitt for Sheriff. And again, you know, win or lose, I just want the community and law enforcement to stay active in a partnership, and that's why we don't have the problems other communities do. And I thank y'all very much for taking my call.
Well, thank you very much. All right.
All right, bye.
All right. So again, as we were saying, part of this whole thing is we were poor, begging folks for money. But looking at these CRAs and looking at their potential for good, we started this year out talking about trying to get, and we're still in the process of trying to get a black credit union, you know, black community bank, you know, whatever we're trying to do. We started doing job fair, career fairs, get folks off the street, get folks off the couches, you know, off their girlfriend mama's couch and all that kind of stuff. You gotta remember that. Well, now we ready to take another turn, because when I was reading up about the CRAs, part of their function, or one of their functions, at least in the paperwork, was saying, well, it was supposed to help the community have a better relationship with the financial institutions in the area.
And in East Tampa, that is why the Suncoast Credit Union is in East Tampa. That's why, because of partnership with the East Tampa CRA, East Tampa Ruralization Partnership, and the credit union under the old leadership of Tom Doherty, they made that agreement that they took over that Barnett building that CDC was in, and brought a branch, and that was the first financial branch in that area since Barnett left.
Right. Okay.
So so you're on the right track, because they're already doing that and have already done that, and that's why that's how they got there. Just a little backstory of how they got there. It wasn't like the credit union decided they would go down the street, literally 3 miles from their main branch, and build another branch.
And they just built another one.
Oh, they're building branches all over the place. I mean,
Yeah, they have.
I mean,
Down there they got a big old brand new 6-7 story building they just built, all glass, right there next to the.
Oh yeah, that's an internal thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's not a branch, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But no, so they partnered with the partnership, and it was an East Tampa community branch that was supposed to interface with the community on a pretty high level. And under its former management, they did, which is how I got involved. The manager at that branch was on the partnership. The manager of that branch was on the Mayor's African American Council, and on the Fair Housing Committee and all that stuff.
Right,
and that's what that person was supposed to do, to be an interface for that community. And I up until, I guess, recently, I don't know, there was a change in management there. That's exactly what they've been doing, and that's because of the partnership and the relationship that the partnership had with the credit union. So you're on the right track, and because they've already done it, they know how.
Right.
And that's the cool thing, they already know how. Ask Van Best. Van, you listening? You up, honey? You know how. So y'all need to talk.
Okay. Well. Okay. I did talk to Miss Bess the other night.
She's my mama.
Okay. Miss Bess got so many kids. You know, usually when you say guys, you have a bunch of, but usually when it's ladies, it's a whole other scenario. But I did have a conversation with Miss Bess. And again, see, me coming on to this thing, these guys been doing this thing for years. Now, from what I gather from the meeting the other night, they just had an election, so now they're going to have a new board, and the new board is going to sit down and turn in sometime in the next week or so, you know, a budget to the city, and sometime in the next month or so, the city's going to write a check to the East Tampa CRA, and then they'll have a budget, and they have a plan, and they're going to do these things. But see, my idea, my thing is, why don't, and I don't know why. So I did say this the other night at the meeting. You know, why don't we have a 5-year plan? Why don't we have a 10-year plan? Since we know the money is coming, we know where it's coming from. We could pretty much, you know, figure out the workaround for the money part of it. What we're gonna do with the community? Why is it that we still have some of these buildings that we have when the CRA could buy some of this ugly, raggedy, vacant property and repurpose it, by putting homes and
It all depends on what the plan is and what their budget is.
$2.9 million.
Yeah, but you're an architect. You know how fast that money goes when you talk about knocking buildings down and putting buildings up.
Yeah.
So it depends a lot on the plan. And right now, and I don't envy any of the people who are on the board right now who have to get together and get that budget knocked out, because that is a torturous, awful, terrible process. The rights and the rewrites and the like are just awful. I don't envy any of y'all who got to do that right now. God bless you. But it's got to fit the plan, as opposed to an organization that's going to. I mean, there's a bunch of buildings that need to be pushed over, but you know what? For instance, there's a little building that's right next to the Suncoast Credit Union branch. It's abandoned. Ownership is out of state.
The little tire place?
No, not on the corner. Right next to it, next to the drive-thru.
Okay.
That ownership is out of state, and they've been trying to find ownership to either get them to do something about that building, or the city take it over. So there's a lot of property rights issues that keep you from just going down with, driving down Hillsborough Avenue with a bulldozer going, "Get this one right here, Bill."
Pam Arroyo did that with them drug houses.
Well, she did that with the mobile home parks that were down on Hillsborough.
Yeah.
But they had, but ownership had abandoned them, and they did it. I mean, they did it right. They just didn't take people's property. They actually.
Now you sound a Republican.
Now I'm libertarian. Libertarian. There are property rights issues that you just can't get the bulldozer. The city can't and just tear down people's houses because you don't like it because it's raggedy. I mean, live in this raggedy house and it belongs to me. So those issues are big. They do get discussed for sure, because I've been in those meetings, and some of those homes and businesses are dangerous because. They end up being crack houses. They end up being places where homeless people sleep that are dangerous to sleep in. I know they're trying to get out of the elements, but you may be trying to get out of the elements, but if the building falls down on you while you're in there, that doesn't do you any good, even if you're homeless. So these processes, again, because you're dealing with property in the city, all take a long time. And you got to get lawyers involved, obviously, and then it can become very, very expensive. And so they decide, can we do things with these funds that we can see benefits right now, or do we hope that we have money later?
That we could put with this.
Yeah, and government don't work like that, right?
I know.
Government don't work like that. You get the money you got now. You better have a use for it.
Because you won't have it long.
Because first of all, there's no guarantee that there's really no guarantee that you'll get it again, and it's not like you can put it away, because then someone says, well, you only spent this much, so you only need a little less than that next time. So you have to do what you can with the money, with the funds you have now. So I know why they don't. I get it. It is frustrating though, because I live in East Tampa, that some of these buildings, you're right. If somebody leans on them, they're gonna fall over.
Oh yeah, they gone.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to have some funds to do that kind of stuff. But they also do a thing called a facade program. You heard of a facade program?
They did one in St. Pete.
They've done it in East Tampa too, where business owners who have businesses that need a little sprucing up out front, but the business owner has to come with 50% and already start the work. Okay. And they can apply to the partnership to help with the rest of their plan to spruce up the outside of their building. And then of course they have to present to the leadership, and the leadership presents that to the membership. So there are programs in place to help spruce up those areas that can be spruced up, that are still being used, and the facade program is one of those.
All right. Okay, so
I feel like somebody should be cutting me a check. Why do I feel like somebody should be cutting me a check?
Well, again, the thing about
Hey, Ernest,
having money and having resources, Because usually, you know, when I'm in here belly aching and crying and screaming and yelling and stuff, you know, I am working under the consideration that there's no money out there. You know, we don't have access to money. We don't have access to resources, and again, we are begging again. And this CRA money is not begging. This is money that belongs to these communities. It comes out of these communities, and they've worked out this deal, so it goes back to these communities. So again, now it's up to the community to be smart about what it does and how it does to maintain itself. Because there's no reason, you know, East Tampa, you know, with money of this nature can't start. Because the whole thing is the germ, it's the seed. You know, it starts with this little thing, you stick it in the ground, and then you water it and feed it and do all this kind of other stuff, and next thing you know, you got something growing. Well, there's no reason you can't take a block or two that's bad now, and you take, you know, send a bulldozer in there, just bulldoze whatever's on it, you know, take that dirt.
Once you get permission from the property owners.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
You can't just bulldoze my house because you don't like it. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, but the whole idea is that with a plan, you can. And with a plan, you can start improving these communities and the houses and the buildings and the areas that people drive up and down, you know, every day going to and from their house don't have to be an eyesore.
Yeah, and I think they've done, and I think they've started that process. I think they've started that process. I think we're talking about the same thing. I think the CRA has started, in East Tampa has started that process. Again, there was a big dip in funds in 2007, 2008, and they're just now getting back to where they were then. So the solution for people is to, there is an organization, there are people who are thinking that way. The answer is to get involved, and if you live, work, or worship in East Tampa, you can be a member of the partnership. Okay. That is the only requirement, really. You have to either live, work, or worship in that area, and then you can be on the partnership. And I think that people should. East Tampa is cool. Like I said, they have a morning meeting for the seniors, and then they have a club meeting for the people who work. So you can't say, well, I work. Well, they have that meeting after work. They have a meeting where they talk about the very same things it's supposed to start at 6, and I know sometimes starts late and goes late. But there are places to get your voice heard. There's a place in East Tampa to get it isn't just, and the knock against some CRAs, and I'm going to say this, is that they don't do that part as well. They don't do the community involvement part as well as I think East Tampa does. A lot of them are just run by the board of 13 or so, and they just tell the membership what they've done as opposed to get the membership's input.
And there's city and there are employees who work for or in these CRAs also. Carla
Lewis was our person.
Okay. She passed.
And she passed away.
Okay.
Which is really a punch in the gut for our CRA, because she was so good at making sure that the members of the CRA understood the position of the city, and that the city understood the position of the community. So she was a great liaison, and that should happen in all the CRAs. So you can feel confident that if you get involved in one, and they have regular meetings, make sure they have regular meetings, because there are requirements of having regular meetings. They can't have a CRA in name only and have a meeting once a year. Some CRAs in South Florida tried that nonsense, and which is why the state, a couple of years ago, wanted to eliminate them.
Okay. That's what that was about. Because there was a big, foo-foo.
There's a big brouhaha about the state wanting to eliminate them, is because some folks down in South Florida took them as a money grab.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, and again, looking at East Tampa, something I know about, passed through, going to and from home, you know, just looking at the potential there.
That's in my house.
And I want to.
That's in my raggedy ass house on the way home.
as to wanting to not only improve the face street appeal, of these communities. But again, I found myself over the last 2 or 3 days just riding through, and I did not notice how many vacant lots there was.
Way too many.
Just riding through. Hell, I went through area over near Ybor, and hell, they got like, somebody told me that the city gave somebody 100 houses, 100 lots, 100 sites for them to come and just build some stuff. I'm like, okay, well, how you give away 100 houses? 100 lots. I mean, how does the city give away 100 anything like that?
Well, they've obviously, well, I hope anyway, my libertarian
Domain homes. That's what it was.
Well, hopefully my libertarian side says hopefully they've gone through their due diligence and due process and gotten control over those lots, where now they're turning them over to developers, and that may or may not be a good thing because of the very same gentrification problem we have in Tampa Heights.
Right.
And North Boulevard Homes and some other areas that is coming to where you live currently. But that's what they've done. And those lots are over by that area between Belmont Heights and before you get into Ybor City proper. Those lots have been like that for a number of years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Because the houses that were there, the city tore them down when Pam Oreo was mayor.
Yep.
And they was vacant lots, and nobody ever builds anything. They just kind of, let stuff hang around till it fall down. Literally fall down on it own.
Yeah.
I mean, because and the houses are so close. I mean, see.
Because they were row houses. Those were row houses.
Yeah, and there's no shade between the two houses.
No, Cigar City. I mean,
no shade.
I mean, Cigar
It
Factory.
ain't 5 feet.
Well, Cigar Factory. A lot of the Cigar Factory houses, because of a long time, some of those homes got built by the cigar factories.
Yeah.
For their employees. So, and then as the communities change, black people and of course poor people, not just black people live in those areas, but poor people live in those areas. And a lot of the ownership was out of state, and
Right.
that's always the difficult part. And I think that's the difficult part in East Tampa, that a lot of the ownership of these properties are out of state.
Right.
They want the city or the CRA or the CDC offers to buy the property, but then as soon as they get an offer on the property, they are forgotten about. They go, oh, you want to buy it, and then the price they want for it is exorbitant. It's ridiculous. And that's what happened to that building I was talking about next to the Suncoast. That they were asking for some exorbitant amount of money for it that again would exhaust those funds.
Right.
And so you say no and go on to something else. Go on to something you can do. And I think the city does that as well, until they can impose eminent domain or like and say that it's a hazard or whatever. And I'm not a fan of eminent domain either. I get it. That's on the libertarian side.
Right.
But that's what the city has to do a lot of times.
Well, this is something I've been thinking about, and someone had actually talked to me about doing it, because there's a bunch of CRAs around Hillsborough County, and they all turn this plan in every year how they're gonna make their area better, than it is, and even better than some of these other CRAs. So I could theoretically go to the city and say, okay, I want to see everybody's CRA, and that should be a document that I should be able to pick up and take home and read and compare and contrast, and
Yes.
and if somebody's doing something right down the street in another
Everybody-
CRA that we could be doing, then why, could we just kind of say, okay, we want to do what they're doing?
Everybody's got a plan, and that does happen. Everybody's got a plan, and those plans are available. They're all, everything that happens in the CRA meeting or a partnership meeting is a matter of public record.
Right.
So yeah, and notes are taken, and then notes are submitted to the city. So yes, you could, and so that does happen. As a matter of fact, if I can brag on my own CRA, and which I've been doing for the past 40 or 51 minutes, I'll continue that trek. A lot of people have come from other CRAs to mimic some of the things, especially community involvement, the community involvement piece that East Tampa has done, making sure that doesn't turn into the crap that happens in South Florida. So they're really good at that, and Van Bess, who has been the chair of that CRA a couple of times, has really been almost to some point, to the point, Mom, I love you, but irritating to the fact that she was going to make sure that the people who were in the community had some say. And other CRAs are looking to East Tampa who's a template for how to do it. Now, of course, our friend Joe Robinson is Joe Robinson, right?
Right, Joe.
So Joe is Joe, and Joe loves the community too, but he has his own way of doing things, and I'm sure that he's as passionate about getting that West Tampa community involved in that CRA, because that's really the key.
Right.
It's called community for a reason. That's really the key. And if people who are in these communities who aren't happy about what they see and how things are being done, and don't feel they have a voice, if you don't decide to go to one of these meetings and be involved, then you know what? You sort of given up your voice. You put yourself on mute.
Right. Yeah.
Because there are people, and I know in these times we don't think that there are, but there are people who are really concerned about what you have to say, who really care about where you live, who really care about what you think. Get with them. And I'm sure Joe Robinson in West Tampa is open to have you come to meetings, have you have your say.
Not to disrupt.
No,
but
if you got something you got to bring up.
What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, don't go to these meetings saying that you're going to raise hell and tear the place down. But if you got something constructive that you can bring, they need you to bring these constructive things. Otherwise, these few people who happen to have volunteered to take these positions, and all these positions are volunteer positions.
Right.
Ain't nobody on that CRA in East Tampa or in West Tampa, nobody's getting paid. Everybody is volunteering their time. People take off from work in the middle of the day to go to those meetings. And people leave their families at night to go to these meetings at night. Everybody's a volunteer. Ain't nobody getting paid. So they're begging for people to say, show up, tell us what's going on. You are our eyes and ears. Tell us what's happening and how we can help.
Now, also,
if they can help.
Also, this is something I kind of thought about, because again, University of South Florida has a community design center. They actually have a college that's primarily city planning, community design. I mean, that's part of the university architecture program name, College of Architecture and Community Design. So they have done studies of there's a way to do infill. There's a logical, thought-provoked process by where you take a bunch of vacant lots.
You can think it out.
And you can actually plan and make everything in the community better when you take those particular spots that's now vacant lots and particular spots that got some other stuff, and there is a synergy that make the community better by the use of these properties and these lands and what you do with them and what you put around them and how it all work together. Mm-hmm. So again, I can't do it because I don't live there, but I do. One of my professors when I was at USF, his name was Trent Green, a Harvard educated architect, black, and again part of what.
How's it, did he?
Yeah, but part of what they do is take plans like this, take communities like this, and for little or nothing. I won't say free because again, you got to build a whole graduate program around how you do this thing. But at the end of this process, I'm quite sure you can probably get some of these community leaders, get some people from the city, get some architectural judges, and you can have the real discussion that's not happening now.
Yeah, and I think Ernest Coney, if you're listening, I think that maybe that's something that CDC, because CDC has built homes and business places and business plazas.
Right.
So maybe that's a partnership that needs to happen between the CDC and USF. Way back when I was running for county commission, I always said that USF should have a bigger part in what happens in East Tampa, seeing that they border each other.
Right. And the other part of that whole scenario is USF literally is on an island. They're this mega university now. They're preeminent. They got all these things going on. They in the process of trying to figure out how to build a stadium on campus.
Don't do that.
You know, and in the bowels of the educational institution that sits out there on the edge of the city. I remember when I first came to Tampa, it was a sign right there on 30th and Fowler say the city of Tampa 6 miles that way, and they were talking about south. Now the city of Tampa not only is their doorstep, it goes around them. So again, you know, the city's come a long way.
Yes.
They catch up with USF, but USF still hasn't opened its arm and has been inviting to work with the city and work with the community, because again, there's opportunities out there, but for USF to become an integral part of what's happening in East Tampa. I mean, I'm just saying that it would appear to be a natural fit to have some kind of group work where we can make everybody better by doing this work together. But again, you know,
Well, that's it.
Mary Poppins theory.
Yeah, and we talked about that when we talk about the money train. I mean, my God, USF is right there. How much work can they do with the East Tampa community that is right at the first community at their doorstep, basically, from that Temple Crest area, past Busch Gardens on. And I think that's a really good plan, and maybe CDC and the people that you're talking about, the architectural people at USF can meet and get together and come up with some real plans for that area.
Yes.
But again, we start dealing with USF and start dealing with other governmental agencies, because they all have to be involved. The county has to be involved. The state has to be involved. And in some places, the federal government has to be involved, especially when you start talking about some of these homes that have been torn down, like North Boulevard and Central Park and some of these other places that are that could be on the chopping block.
Well, there's a master plan, and the problem with the master plan is everybody.
It's only master that gets to decide.
Everybody thinks they know what the master plan is, and there is no plan. You know, everybody just assume because stuff is happening that something is being planned.
It's Children of the Corn.
It's called urban sprawl, which happened in the '60s. We've already seen it happen before, and it's around is urban sprawl. You know, volume 2. You know, with a little bit of planning, it could be different.
And I think with a little bit of planning and input from people who actually live in these communities, it could be better.
Everybody working together.
People working together, people getting involved, and people in government listening, and people in the academic community listening, and the activist community listening and inputting. I think it could be better. I know now I don't sound like a libertarian at all, do I?
No, you don't. See,
I might need medicine.
There's the Willie we used to.
I might need medicine.
Seeing and hearing every Saturday. So folks, we appreciate you sitting here with this conversation, because normally at some point in time you usually have the opportunity to get mad at something we said about Trump, something we said about DeSantis, Kavanaugh, Brett, something else over the course of the week. Everybody's just been running around like their hair's on fire, and we did not want to do that to you this Saturday. We wanted it to be local. We wanted to talk about stuff you see every day, and stuff that you can make a difference of, because sometime within the next week, the city council is going to make a decision, and they're going to receive a budget, and they're going to approve, and stuff is going to happen. And I want you guys, and I'm going to try to get Frank Reddick here next week, so we can continue this conversation about local stuff and how we change our own lives and change the lives of people around us, and help make this community a much better place. So until next time, final word, Willie?
Get involved locally, because if it don't happen where you live, it ain't gonna happen nowhere else.
All right. We love you. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Bye-bye.